Okay, hello everyone. My name is Kelly Couch. For those of you that don't know me, I am an independent promoter with the company Prove It. And I am excited today, day 46 of 90. That means we are one day over halfway to when we started this journey and this commitment to hacking better. And so I don't think, Nick doesn't think I counted everyone, but I think I counted over 40 people going to Hacking Better so far in our Rhino squad. Nick thinks there's almost 60, so we got to get on the same page here. But I'm really excited about that. I'm excited to try to double that number because I know what everybody is going to get out of it. So day 46, and it's going to be part of my call to action today. But you guys see how sometimes numbers go down, right? Day one, maybe we had 15 or 20 people, and here we are day 46 and we're at 4 or 5, right? So we got to get those numbers back up. I'm proud of you guys for your commitment to getting on here for sure. I love seeing your faces, and we need to keep that commitment going. And I think, when you look long-term in your business or in your what you're trying to do here with Prove It or anything else, this is where it matters. This is where you got to kick it in. This is where it's hard. Like maybe you're tired. You've been getting on these for 46 days and you're like, dang, this is hard to do. But you know what? It fires me up. And that's what I love when we would get on them before, when we run them ourselves. It keeps me accountable. And these are the days we need to be getting on when we're feeling tired. And maybe we're like, you're trying to do some of the stuff we've been teaching and it feels like a lot. This is where you're going to tune in and be like, oh, okay, this is okay what I'm doing. This happens, and see the bigger vision. So I'm excited everyone's on here. And I want to make sure that we understand the goal here. You're getting on this Rhino run. So you need to, so you're doing the things, right? We do that, the calls to action, and you want to be doing those things. Like I was going back through my notebook from the last Rhino run. I'm like, oh man, I started to skip out, keeping myself accountable. I started to skip out on some of the calls to action. Like I would get on and listen, but then I stopped, like maybe my notes ended around day 28, and then I stopped doing the call to action. Like imagine if I had stuck it out to day 60 or day 80, like where would it be? And the calls to action daily aren't hard. It's when you try to go back and do like 17 days in a row, and then you're like, oh, whoa, this is overwhelming, right? But the little ones each day will add up big time. And then the goal would be to be able to turn and teach that. So if you're doing these calls to action and you're starting to get really good and proficient, and you're like, oh, what she did say, this wasn't too hard to do social media. And now that I'm doing it, I'm starting to make my own distinctions and awarenesses. Well, now then you want to be able to be a turn and teach that to the people in your team, right? Duplicatability is always the key. So who is committed tomorrow to getting new people on? I'm committed. I will do it. I have been making the posts and all that kind of stuff, but I want to invite, and make sure that people are getting on here and sticking to their commitment. Can you shut the door when you go out, please? Okay, so we're in the heart. We're in the middle. We can hit, I think we can hit 100 to Hacking Better. Like, I believe that. Like, sometimes Nick will say 10x it, like try to get 1 million people, and you're like, I believe like it has to be outside of the reach of what you think you can do, but not so far, right? When you're visualizing and getting people there. So I'm committed to that too. We have heard over and over and over and over and over again that something major is coming in 2020. And they're saying build wide, build a huge foundation, get ketones in front of people. That doesn't mean they have to be a year-long Smart Ship customer to appreciate what's coming in 2020. I don't know what it is. It means that we need to just be introducing dripping, right? You've heard people that have done social media trainings before talk about dripping. You just want to get exposures, touches. So whatever hits in 2020, you've had those conversations open and you're ready to go. So let's hop into this. Today we're going to talk about advanced social media strategies part 2. And I'm going to do another one next week that's going to bring it all back and tie it all together. I know we've done 4 intense days of social media, and you should have action steps for days if you want to build your social media network. I even have action steps, like even the stuff I've been doing, and I've been doing this stuff. I'm like, man, I could take this to another level if I would be doing it more, if I wouldn't waste 30 minutes before I get kicked into it, looking at what all my friends from high school are doing or stuff like that. So, all right. Okay. So we talked about the 212 Live Monday, and which is amazing, right? Who did the call to action, made their lists, right? I went back in and revamped some of mine because mine were kind of, they were good, but they were kind of broad. And I think even when you make your U list, you can go under those. Like, you're a dog person, right? What kind of dog do you have? How old is your dog? You know, was he adopted? Do you, whatever, do you foster dogs? I don't know. Make those lists very specific, okay? Within that 212 live, I want to give you guys kind of 5 categories that when I sit to make a post, or when I make a story, or I'm going to make these connections, these are kind of guidelines to take it. This is advanced social media, right? So guidelines to sort of go deeper. So we talked about that a little bit on Monday when you're sitting down, like, how do you even, okay, you have your topic, now what, right? And so here's 5 categories that you can kind of stick within. That's also going to help to just get your mind going to write it out. An experience that number 1, an experience that I learned something from. So I talked about that before, and you can use the past, you know, in the past, 5 years ago, this was happening, the lesson, and then the present and how you're applying that lesson. So something you learned something from. All of us, I don't even have to raise your hands. Like, all of us have had something happen in our life that was crushing, right? Like, awful, tragic, something happened. But when you look back, you're thankful almost that happened, because the lesson you learned from it was so big. Like, for us, you know, when Nick's dad passed away, or when Nick had his head injury, or different things that I look back and I'm like, man, that was crushing when it happened. If I look back, we were super intentional about, through all of those things, making sure that we found the lesson. Like, that was sort of, when people around us were trying to recover in other ways, we made sure to find the lesson in it, and that was our recovery process. So if that is a story, you guys, like, if I put those online, that would be something that people would read and connect to me immediately, right? Like, I'm getting emotional just talking about here, but if you put that in front of people, that's going to connect. That's going to relate to people. So the second thing, something you were inspired by. Who has been inspired in the past week? I won't look. If you're not raising your hand, like, go to weinspireon.com. Go ask Amanda for the guy that I always, Miles, right? I start to listen to his, and they're like, in the first couple of minutes, I'm like, man, I got to stop this and take notes. Like, there's whatever you're about, like, if you're a spiritual person or whatever, there's videos out there to inspire you. Get inspired and share about it, right? Cry for a few, feel the feels, and share about it. Number 3, something that made you laugh. That is value, you guys. Like, I don't care what anyone says. If I go online and someone consistently makes me, like, burst out laughing, they're my new friend. Whether they know it or not, they're my new friend. I'm going to go in and engage. I'm going to share their funny stuff if it's a meme. And I think that's a great way to connect and recognize almost. Like, if I go in and people have funny stuff online that really makes me smile, sometimes I'll share it in my story. But, you know, I could crop their name out and then say we're connecting, and I always find it kind of weird, and this advanced social media, so we're digging on into deep down here in stories, but say they're going through my story and they see, like, this thing off of their wall that I cropped their name out of and shared it, right? That feels icky, kind of, like I stole it, or weird. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe they think it's funny just the same. But what I do, you can turn it into a connection tool. So say I find I'm going through and I'm, like, hysterical. I'll message them and be like, hey girl, going down through your feed, you know, thanks for liking my post, going down through your feed. Your stuff is so funny. It literally looks like stuff that I go through every day and could post on my own wall. Boom, right? What's she going to do? She's going to go to my wall and look at my stuff because she wants to see, like, oh, this girl thinks she's as funny as I am. No, she's like, you know, she thinks we're alike now. She's going to go to my wall. And then if I put her stuff in my story, I'll crop it, but I'll keep their name in it. And then I'll tag them in it. So then we have another touch point, right? And then they'll come back in like, oh, that was so funny, right? I've started that connection. I've started building that relationship. So anytime it feels weird, let's think, like, how could we reshift this to make it a connection tool, to make it, you know, that so we're bringing someone into us, right? The third thing, oh, that was the third thing, something to make you laugh. Something, and I want you to note on that one, it doesn't always have to be intimate. It doesn't always have to be a detailed story, right? The stories are amazing if you're feeling them, you're inspired, you learn something. These funny things, they attract more people. I will tell you, the funny things I put on Instagram attract way more people than the stories, but I have good stories to back them up. So that when people come there because they like what I posted that was funny about my kids, then they see, like, who I really am when they get there. So number 4, something that made you feel something. Okay. The highlight, I heard someone say this, I don't know who it was, but the highlight reel is not real. Okay. It's funny and it might look nice, but I feel like your social media doesn't have to be all happy. You know, in an age where Instagram is great because you can get in front of a lot of people. A lot of people are also using that as a tool to connect. And so if all of my stuff is happy, 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 and it's perfect and all of that stuff, people aren't really, they know me, the happy, let-go-lucky side of me, or what I want them to see. But the more raw and real I get, the more raw and real other people get, you feel like you know them at a deeper level. And so, you know, you can wrap those stories up with a nice bow on them and still make them super inspirational and get those feels out of people. But share that stuff, you guys. And I want you to make a distinction here, okay? On Instagram and Facebook, there are toxic people with toxic posts, okay? I'm not saying be that person that is super out there spilling the beans, complaining all the time. I will tell you on a personal note, when I click into someone, I'm like, oh, they have a nice picture. Let me click in and see. If I see toxic, 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 there's no way in heck that I am friending and connecting with that person. It's not going to happen, right? I've got to insulate my mindset. And so if I'm at the point where I'm trying to attract people like me or trying to grow, that's not the kind of person I want. Do they have potential? For sure. But they can go ahead and read some books. And if I click back in a year later and they've elevated themselves and they're on a higher vibration, for sure I'll friend them. But right now, that's not what I'm looking for. You know, but what you can do if you're sharing the real side of your life is to share the hard stuff and then share what you learned from it. You see the distinction there. So you're not just complaining, you're sharing a story, and then you're sharing how you conquered it, how you were victorious, right? That's the key that separates us from this toxicity that you see a lot of times. So number 5, something that changed your life. That's always, you know, I think we all have pivot points in our life where had we not done that, had we not met that person, had we not read that book, had we not gone to that event, had we not XYZ, your life would not have been where it is now. And so I think those are super important to share, to show people that your life can change in an instant if you're ready to say yes to things. Okay. So I think that's great. So the next thing I want to go into, I've got a bunch of different categories here that I want to talk about to really dig in and give you guys action steps. And like I said, next week, one day, I'm going to bring it all back in together here. So second one, growing your Instagram network. Okay. You're not on there just following random stuff. You want to be intentional. If you're just getting started, right, go on there, like a bunch of stuff, get people seeing your name all the time, okay? But if we're doing advanced social media and we're trying to, you know, there's action, massive action. We've talked about that as being the first step of getting out there and getting your name out there. And then there's inspired action. And then there's intentional action. You know, there's action that's actually going to get you where you want to go. So if you guys are out there taking massive action, props to you. You know, Nick and I are all about that. But now we want to be intentional on Instagram, right? Look for people who are looking for you and can relate to you. So here we want to talk about hashtags and how you can use that to grow your Instagram network. And it's huge, right? Because you can search not just, you know, dog moms or you name it, like kids swim team moms or whatever. You're searching for people like you. You can search for people who are growing their mindset, right? So imagine someone comes into your team, and if you've been doing this for a while or you've been trying to grow a team, you understand that it's not just ketones, right? Mindset, I would almost take that first, because someone that's growing themselves and working on what's up here, they can share ketones, right? And they're going to handle situations a lot better than someone maybe who starts blasting ketones, but the first time someone says no, they like flip out, and you know, you see the difference. So personal development book you like, I think that's a great place to start, right? So search wherever you're at. Search girl, wash your face. Search, I mean, here you are, 5-second rule, like 10X rule, how to, you know, be a recruiting superstar, the pursuit, whatever you're reading, search that hashtag. You know what that's going to do? Pull up like 400,000 other people who are reading that same book. Even if it's 450, now you have 450 people who are at your growth level, who are ready to make their lives better, that you can connect with on that level. You know, you're not starting here and you're trying to grow and you're trying to pull them along. These are people actively searching, actively growing, actively doing things already to make themselves better. Yes, I want to attract that into my team. Okay, they have the same belief systems I have, and that's someone I want to connect with for sure, right? And I think you can do that, like if there's people that you like, you know, Tony Robbins or different people like that, go in and engage with those people, and add them to the collection, like we talked about. You know, you can make a 10x collection, you can make a mompreneurs collection, you name it. And when you like a collection of people who are 10xing things in their life that you're going to connect with and eventually make your ketone customers, I would. I would for sure. Okay. If you are not putting personal development in your brain, and whether this has anything to do with advanced social media or not, I'm going to say it on every single Zoom. If you are not putting personal development in your brain, you are selling yourself short, period. And you guys know that came from me personally, because I did not used to read personal development books. I would read things, you know, things like whatever, you name it, romantic novels, not really. But, you know, the minute that Brian James and Nick started introducing me to these books and, you know, helping me see that this bigger level of awareness was out there, it changed everything, not just in my business, in my personal life, everywhere. So, you know, the minute I stopped filling myself with news, negative news, or TV or music. I'm not saying you can never do that, but if you're here and you're raising your hand and you're like, I want to grow a business and I want to do it through advanced social media, right? The way to do it is to cut out that stuff and use whatever time you have to fill your brain with audiobooks and podcasts and sermons or whatever your thing is. But things shift when you do that, big time. And so use whatever time that your kids don't need you or your spouse doesn't need you to put that good stuff in there. So the second thing with hashtags, who has an inspirational person they follow? So if you use hashtag these books, you're going in there and engaging. Maybe you follow Rachel Hollis. Maybe you follow Nick Santanastosville from our last event, or Mel Robbins. Search those people, search those hashtags, go in and connect with those people. Another thing you can search with on hashtags, the roles you play in your life. So the me, the you bubble that we created the other day, right? Work, hobbies, parents, entrepreneur, travel, whatever you like to do, search those roles, search those hashtags. You will connect with some of the most amazing people and you will learn from them. Okay. So they're giving you value. You want to provide value to them. That's going to make a strong connection going forward. And they're going to come around to ketones eventually. It's a consistency game. The fourth one on hashtags, tag your location. I can't tell you, I just started doing that when I heard someone else say that you can grow on social media and still grow locally. You can search the location where you live or where you're going, who's going to Kentucky in October. We can search for people in Kentucky who are 10xing their mindset. I'll have a KLP of those people, right? And so I think searching those, tagging your location, when you go in, you see the same people a lot. So you start tagging yourself and people start searching that location, they're going to find you, which is what you want. Next thing after hashtags is Instagram stories. Who is using these? Okay. I love Instagram stories. And I will tell you probably 6 months ago, I don't know, maybe not. I wasn't using it at all. I didn't even know what to do with them. I didn't even know how to get into it. And now I think I'm pretty funny on there. No, but I think, you know, people want to see that side of you. I spend more time in Instagram stories finding other people than I do on their actual posts, because that's where people are real. That's where people are funny. That's where I'm finding my people, right? And so this is advanced, right? So when you've picked a platform and you're doing, you know, the DMOs and the things we've talked about, then I want you to get into more, right? So if you're at the very beginning and you're like, she's crazy, like, what is she even talking about? Start at the beginning and then do more of that. And then when you feel good with that, listen to these again, take the next step, right? But we're getting into advanced stuff here. So stories, you know, are the perfect tool for dripping. Dripping is where, if you haven't been to a playbook event, you're getting your name in front of people. So you can take literally the 3 minutes that you're waiting for your son or in the bathroom or wherever you are, and go into stories. You know how many people you can hit in that 3 minutes? Like relatable, actually real stuff. Like somebody's kid drew all over the wall. Me too, girl, I'm there. Like, I'll say a prayer for you. whatever, go, like, comment, heart, whatever, real interactions, but it's quick. They're on the stories. They posted them quick. They're funny. You're posting back. People like that. I can tell you one girl that I had been following for a long time has a very big following. I've never talked to her about ketones. Every time I like her story, she just hearts it, you know, okay, I'm just going to keep going. And now we're finally starting to engage in conversation. It's probably been a solid year that I've been following her, and we've been sort of hearting each other's stuff and whatever. And now we're actually engaging in conversation. Like, these connections take time, but they're going to come. Okay. So when I started, I was posting like 4 to 6 times a day on Instagram and Facebook. And it was all the things that I now put in my stories. So I was like, anytime we went anywhere with my kids, I posted it. Anything. I would post so many times a day. And that was one of the first things when someone looked at my social media, they were like, whoa, slow it down. Not only the algorithms, but like, people can't even get through all this stuff. Now I put that in my stories. So people see the real, you know, the stuff I want them to see intentionally on my feed. And then they go into my stories and see the hot mess that my life is behind the scenes. That's much more engaging to people, and they can go in my stories and see that stuff as they want to, right? So things to put in your stories. It's kind of a dear diary of your day, not all ketones, right? Your whole day is not ketones. That's not all you do. And you can share your personality in there, right? Like, you can look like this, look like this, and have all this stuff and whatever. You can look like yourself in there. People love that. It's so relatable, right? Be funny, okay? Be funny. If you're a funny person, be funny in there. Don't overthink it. Like, you know, when I first started stories, it took me a while to do them. Now I just put some words and funny stuff and move along. People like to see whatever you're putting up there. Make a shift. When you realize everything in your life is an opportunity to make people laugh, something shifts. Like, your stuff is funny, right? You think it's funny. Other people like you will think it's funny. You know, how many times have you said, like, I could write a book on all the stuff I do in my life? Here it is. Your Instagram stories is the place for you to do that, right? Like, example, I put AJ's antics up on Facebook in my stories a lot, right? Like Play-Doh in the carpet, pooping in the bathtub. You get it, right? I wouldn't put that in a post probably necessarily, but it's in there for people to watch. Like, don't get mad, make it funny. Hobbies in there, your day, whatever you're doing. If you work, show it, right? How many other people out there are working and need positivity and uplifting? What's funny that's going on at your work? It's probably happening there too, right? If you were dancing on your break because Prove It made you smile, put it on there, right? Show it. People need to see that. So own it and show it. Stories are kind of a day in the life. I would say, you know, I said don't do all ketones. I do put ketones in there for sure. Way more than I do in my posts. So the rule, I would say, is probably 10 to 1. For every 10 stories, pop in ketones one time, or, you know, even 5 to 1. If you don't do stories a lot, start maybe 5 to 1 and then move up 10 to 1. So maybe if I've noticed, like, I'm drinking my ketones and I want to put that in my story, but I haven't made a buffer since like last night's ketone post, then I'll just go through. I'm always taking pictures. I might not be always on my phone uploading them. It's the same way yesterday or Monday that we talked about when your hair looks good and you feel good and you're taking all different pictures so you have that bank. Same thing with stories. You can be doing that. If we're outside swimming, I'm taking boomerangs of the kids, but then I set my phone down, right? I have them. So when I go in later at night, I can do my stories when I have time. I can make that buffer in between ketone posts, and I have enough that I can drop in a whole bunch of keto stuff. So that's a great way to start getting ketones too. So you get people, you're attracting them to you. They're looking at your feed. Then they're going into your stories. You can even direct them there from some of your posts. Like, hey, this craziness today, XYZ, check out my stories for the real pictures. Where are people going to go? Up to my stories. They're going to look at all the real pictures, and then they're going to also see the keto, right? We got this. Okay, so recognition on Facebook is the next thing I want to talk about quick. Who knew before Prove It what Go MVP was? Who knew what Rank 5 was? Nope. No one else does either. Okay. So when we celebrate, and we want to celebrate a lot what people are doing, we want to tell a story. So everything goes back to storytelling, right? So instead of, hey, Christy hit MVP, I'm so proud of her. Nobody on social knows what, I mean, our people, but you're not attracting them. What does that Go MVP mean to her? What are her dreams? Who is she? Have them send you a picture that they love so they feel confident when you're celebrating them. Help them build self-confidence. Why are they here? What does that extra money, what does that $500 they earn just mean to their family? Like, tell the story behind it rather than just MVP. Does that make sense to everyone? Recognition is always great, but imagine you know them and you know their story It's so much, the feels are all there, right? And it's also a tool for prospecting because the story relates to others who want to do the same things, right? Based on the story, not like she's a rank 8 and they don't know what that means. That makes sense, right? Okay, so next week, the it thing I'm going to go over, right? To bring it all home. Social media dating. So look forward to that next week. Okay, so tracking your progress real quick. Okay, we got a couple more minutes. Tracking your progress. Who knows about on this day on Facebook? I want to get through some of this stuff so we can bring it back home. On this day on Facebook, you can click up there and search that, and it will show you everything you've made on this day for years and years and years. So you can see how bad you were 2 years ago. You can laugh about it and recognize that you've come a long way, right? Go into the search bar, search that Facebook shortcuts, memories, anything you see there, whatever update you have will take you, and you can use those. I use those in my Instagram stories and my Facebook stories all the time because they're funny and the kids are little and I was a mess back then, you know, but I'm making progress and people want to see that, right? But you notice I said years, like you can go back years and see what you're doing, right? No way, you know, if you say like, no way, I'm giving it 2 months and I quit, you already take yourself out of the game, right? It's a year thing. It's a long time. You got to do this, but it will happen for you. Social media is your baby, and you have to sharpen your skills and learn and still do KLPs and the in-person stuff in the meantime until this really launches for you, okay? So go look how far you've come. If you're getting started, wait a year, look how far you've come then, but make sure you're making those posts so you have them in a year to look back at. Optimal posting times is the last thing I want to talk about before I give you the call to action. There are no optimal posting times in my mind. Like I think we talk about algorithms and we always worry about, am I posting it? Am I getting it in front of people? Am I, what does Facebook say about that today? Things are always changing, right? So don't even worry about that. The people looking for you are the people who are going to see that when you post it. So if my kids don't get to bed till midnight and then I post something, the other moms who are up doing things at that time too are going to see that, right? Or whatever time I'm doing it, those are the people, they're going to see it. And if you're using that green light challenge that we talked about Monday, then you're going to engage with them first. And so you'll be fine. And they'll come back and engage on yours because you've engaged, then posted, and then they're going to come engage on yours. Okay. So call to action. Drop well, just give me a hand. If you have a business partner that is not on the Zoom, okay. I think the number went up since we all first got on here, but right. If you have someone that is working with you with Prove It and they're not on the Zoom, your call to action is to get one more person on here with you tomorrow. Because like I said, we're at day 46. It's time to grind, and like we're in the middle of it. We're in the heart of it. And if we can push through till hacking better, we'll all be better from it. But I want this number to go up. So tomorrow, your call to action is to get one other person at least on here with you. And I want you to play in the stories. Whatever you do, it's you, it's fine. It goes away in 24 hours. Don't even be embarrassed. It's fine. People think it's funny. So play in there and start to see how that works and how it ups your engagement and all that stuff. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Nick is going to be training on ownership versus participation. And then Friday, we're going to have some takeaways, some of their takeaways from LCD, which I'm excited to hear. So we'll see you guys soon.